everybody, hope you're doing really well. So today I have had very special access today to come, well, to this incredible place. I'm not going to say too much about it, you've probably got the hint in the title already. I'm with Jay today and he's going to be your guide. So he's going to take us all around this incredible place. Got really lucky with the weather. We thought we'd start outside first and then sort of slowly treat you when we sort of like walk our way in. But brief hint of what we're going for. So the building is the
Hastings Observer building. It was the old newspaper printing building. My company, White Rock Neighbourhood Ventures, are redeveloping currently into a mixed-use building to provide living and workspaces for the town.
So all the information, as you will probably guess from all the videos, is going to be down in the links below. So without further ado, let's actually try and explore this. And before we start going in, we are literally standing behind some, well, they're natural sandstone caves to begin with, as you'd expect in Hastings, because we're just littered with them, aren't we, really? But the real stuff is on the inside, so let's go and have a look. Right, cheers, Jay. Okay, everybody, so before we start properly, behind this you may have noticed that there's a sealed off room, and Jay was saying that it is the...
So this is what we call Cave 2. This was the largest cave of the small collection out here, the longest cave. When we started doing the cliff stabilisation works, we had a rock fall. About 2 ton of rock, of sandstone, fell into the cave, and it felt like an earthquake. So unfortunately we've lost half of the cave. We've had to do a bit of infilling, and we did it with specialist conservation geologists as well, like we did all of this work to preserve the history of the area.
So Jay's going to talk more about the work that they're doing within the area, and like I said, so just have a look here whilst we're here. So you can see obviously it's completely fenced off exactly, and you can see where the sandstone goes right the way up to the top, and then obviously that, as you can see just on the corner, is the observer building proper. Most of it, as you can see, is now being done as they're working on it, which we'll talk about. And then just here, this is one of the, well, probably the longest cave you've got at the moment, really, isn't
now
it?
It is,
yeah.
So you can see we've installed some lights, as well as doing the stabilisation work to the ceiling. And these motors actually belong to the traffic wardens of East Sussex County Council, whose office is just on Claremont, and we've let them use this space very generously.
Nice one. Right. So let's actually go inside and then let's have a nosy. Come on then. It's so much more different than I always remember it being graffiti a little bit, you know what I mean? But it was... Okay, Jay, so we are now inside and we're looking at one of the original entrances. I suppose, is it the entrance or
This is
proper?
the entrance to the vaults, yeah. So when we bought the building 2 years ago, there was a blast-proof door here that was installed in the 1920s. Mm-hmm. We've removed that and removed the bricks to restore this beautiful archway here. So F.J. Parsons in 1924 decided to brick line these what was sandstone tunnels, and the idea behind that was they'd come out of the First World War and they were preparing in case there was a Second World War, which history has it there was. Their idea being that they installed some printing presses down here in these tunnels, so if there was a war they could carry on printing the newspaper, and this was the area that was then also used as an air raid shelter.
Right. So, as you can tell, it's going to be a lot of banging and clanging in it, so we just have to know that this is obviously still a very much heavily worked site, hence why we've got to wear our protective gear. Yeah. So, yeah, we're not doing a fashion thing today. We're not going to win any prizes. So, we've just literally walked in, as you can see, whilst Jay had kindly shown us. Oh, there we go. So, what you can see already is some of the original parts. So Jay, do you want to explain this as well for me, please?
So what we have here is what's left of the drive shaft. So when the printing presses were installed down here, they were connected and powered by the same motor in the main hall as the main presses. So this was the mechanical way that motor could then, similar to what you have in a car, a drive shaft, that would connect to the printing presses down in the vaults.
Right. And as you can see, it's amazing the condition, really, isn't it? You know. So, our next bit. So, we're walking around the bend, and it's sorry guys. So you can tell it's very worked. So Jay, do you want to explain this as well for us, please?
Yeah, I only actually learned this a week ago from a former employee who came on one of my tours. So this is a neutral water bath. So the water here was tested for its pH level, and they had to make sure that it was pH neutral to be used in the printing process.
And then we were saying that one of the things that we noticed was that that's obviously one of the pumps, isn't it? Or it must be a pump.
Yeah, it was
some
the
sort.
pump that would have pumped it up into the next level of the building.
But it's the fact that it's all still here, and then when you look up, I mean, it's just amazing sort of thing, isn't it? And then
right, and we maintain all this as well. So we're going to probably sand it and treat it and repaint it to make it look nice, but it'll all be staying in situ as part of the redevelopment.
wow. Right, let's keep going. So I was sort of saying to J-Log when we were walking across, it's kind of hard to imagine, but we're literally carving through that huge amount of sandstone that you saw when we were outside. So those caves that you could see when we first started the video, inside those, we're literally coming through this amazing sandstone. And obviously, because it's Hastings, it's got that very distinct sand-like sandstone colour. It's not like the Ardenite sandstones that I always mention in a lot of my videos where you've got that green alkali lime sort of colour. This is that pure yellow, almost like the colour of like normal balsa wood or something like that. Very, very luminous sort of message. But the fact that we've gone right through that now, and above us you can just see the construction. I mean, the bricked arches are amazing, aren't they, really?
Yeah. Like you're saying about the sandstone, the colour of it, that's what gives this area of Hastings its name, the White Rock.
The White Rock, yeah. So what we'll do is we're going to come back to this secret building, because I'll get my torch out and we can have a look at that. But as you can see now, it's going to start curving round. So should we just let's do a walk and talk. Should we just do it now, Jay? So talk to us about first of all we're going to be having a look at now then.
So this is just a continuation. This is what we call the S-vault because of its bendy shape, and it actually bends. This whole vault comes outside of the footprint of the observer building, underneath the road opposite Prospect Place, and as you go to the end there, it's actually underneath the houses on the opposite side of the road. So it's almost as if we're encroaching on people's land here, which we're not.
Right, so let's get round the corner then, Jay, and then we'll have a look. Come on in. Okay, so we're standing now at the park, which for me personally is quite interesting because it was a bit, I remember when Jade already just showed me around before we got to film, and it was a bit that John had taken a photo and he said, look, this is what's underneath here. And I was like, wow, I recognise this bit. So Jade, talk to us about what we're looking at currently behind us, and then we'll focus on what's next to us more importantly.
Okay, so I mean this is more than likely the area that would have been used as an air raid shelter in the war. At the end there is a really great piece of work where you can actually stand inside the sandstone cliff and you can see the little chisel marks that were made during the digging out process, which was obviously done by hand. You can't dig out sandstone by explosive because you would create quite a big
And
mess.
also you can get different types of sandstone where it's like something that's really soft, and obviously if you explode it, it's just going to completely shatter, break. It's very unpredictable, isn't it? I'm assuming, really.
It is, yeah, it is. Hence why we've had to do so much stabilisation work outside.
Yeah, which is interesting. So it's kind of one of these things that, like I said, Jay doesn't know this, but I obviously love my sandstone, as everybody else out there knows. So I'm a bit obsessed with it. The fact that we've actually come through to a sandstone part in Hastings just doubles up to it. But, yeah, so we'll move it around because I just want to see this here. So what is this exactly, then, Jay?
So this here, we've had different ideas. Some people think it's an old lift shaft.
Yeah, because that's what it looks like at first.
It does.
Except you haven't got
but obviously you've got that solid concrete block there, and this would go up to Mrs. Myrtle's living room on Prospect Place. So we know it's not that. Then we thought it was the storage for naughty boys. But I have since found out that a mercury arc reactor was in here. Again, another part of the printing process and powering the vast quantity of machines that were all around these buildings. So that was in here. This railing is the original rail. I think it's seized up a bit. But again, this will be another feature that we keep, that will, sand the rust off, give it a nice coat of paint, make it look like it did originally.
And I think what we're going to do at the end is we're going to talk about the project in detail right in, just so that all of you understand and the actual amazing work that they are trying to do here to actually potentially preserve most of what's already around here, which is quite nice and so refreshing when you see companies who do that they don't want to sort of remove too much of the actual original history that's here. And why would you? Because it looks amazing, doesn't it? So let's have a look here then. Right, okay. So, stay with me.
I mean, I imagine with just some low-level bunk seating and a table in the middle, that is a perfect snug.
It's a bit
cozy private
I
chat,
know.
a game of dominoes, over a glass of rum, something very Hastings.
It's amazing. Because you're so convinced that they want to work. That's the thing, isn't it? You look and you think, oh, but they're so rusted, but they're such an amazing good condition. That's the thing, isn't it?
With a bit of care, love and attention, I reckon they'll move again.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I hope so.
Right.
One of the first things we do, first lockdown, sandblasting. So there's one man
Okay, so we're now heading to the far end of the vaults, and basically this part is obviously what Jay's mentioned, which is actually where you get to see the sandstone from the inner part, I suppose, really. But what's kind of crazy, as we were sort of saying, is that you're technically walking over a road. It's not necessarily a main road, is it? But,
No.
but it is a road of significance. Obviously, you can see on my tripod is obviously the way that it just arcs around. As a structure itself is absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, right, should we have a look inside then? So, as you can see, this is beautiful. Look at this. What I said to Jay was I was amazed at how high that was, and it's just got this perfect arch, that bulb up the top, really, of like erosion, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
It's got a great sparkle to it.
I was going to say it's absolutely amazing, and you've got that sort of damp quality. But you were saying about some. Oh yeah, look, there's the graffiti. It's actually quite nice to see it now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we do have some graffiti in here, some carvings.
Relatively pleasant stuff, I can
Yeah.
assure people.
But in amongst all of that, you can, especially on your left-hand side there, you can see all of the pick marks
Oh yeah.
of how it was carved out by just hand and pick.
It'd be lovely if you ever got some proper dated graffiti, because then you could really sort of like look at it from the point of just sort of saying we can actually trace who would be working here from
Yeah.
it. But it's so rare if that does happen, but it's such an incredible sort of sight if it does. But it's just how high this goes up, and the way that it sort of arcs around is absolutely amazing. You've still got a little bit of wildlife in here. They're pretty in shock. Like, how did you get there, Mr. Moth? But yeah, absolutely amazing. And this brick wall. Do you think, obviously, because it's interesting, why do you think that brick wall was obviously just to cut it off anyway? Because obviously they were assuming that there might be an end way to sort of get through it. Do you reckon?
I think when the brickwork went up, I think this acts more of a kind of a stopper for the lining of what's on the other side of
Yeah.
it. And just to kind of make it a bit neat and tidy, to be honest.
Because it's quite a chunky wall, this, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
when you see the mortar and stuff, it's quite a.
Well, that's it. I mean, from this side you can see that
quite thick.
They haven't paid it much attention.
No, I was going to say,
From
yeah.
the other side, they've done it really nice.
I was going to say, 'cause it seems quite rushed when you look at it from this side, don't you? Do you know what I mean? But that's amazing, that. Right. Well,
so hopefully, if this whole area becomes an underground bar and tap room, which would be really cool, this I'm hoping just to open it up a little bit more, and I can have local artists exhibit their work in here. It'd just be nicely lit up with some glass, and it'd be a nice focal point. This will be the seating area for the bar.
because it's interesting, because obviously in the previous video I was sort of saying to Jay that recently, as of this video, I'd done the crypt in St Pancras Church, which is now an art gallery. And that was a crypt, and then it turned into an air raid shelter, and now it's an art gallery. And what an amazing! And I said when I was there, what an incredible use for it.
Yeah.
Because you've got this art gallery, it really makes people focus on all of that. And when you encompass the history on it, it's just such an amazing use. But yeah, so you were saying, just another bit of info. We were looking at these eye hole loops here, and you were saying about what there would have been originally here. So
yeah, so back in the 20s and 30s, there was a small wall just over here. And this side of it was where they stored their big barrels of waste ink. So I'm guessing that the eye holes was some sort of pulley system to lift those in and out. And yeah, they kind of just dumped the end of their life inks here.
So the debate that we were sort of talking about was in the historical records, because Hastings actually do an amazing job of the historical records, which is also how I managed to find out about this place as well. But we're debating how many people this potentially would have held as an air raid shelter. Now, I'd seen the number that said about 56, but I reckon it's way more than that. I mean,
I think it's got to be. I think it's
at least 100. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be. It's kind of, again, for all of you lot out there, it's always going to be hard to get the dimensions of it, but no way is this 56. No way.
No, definitely not.
No. I mean, you'd have so much space in here for that. I mean, it's so... But I wonder, like we were sort of saying, I wonder if there was pitches that everybody has this specific pitch. They could sort of say, right, you're in this area, you're in this area, you're in this area, but...
More than likely, back in those times, I mean, part of the observer building itself, the staircase at the front of the building, we call it the executive staircase. Okay. So that staircase was not used by any of the workers of this massive building. It was just by the top brass. Right. So there was that big kind of divide. And the workers would come in through the back staircase at Prospect Place, and the staircases themselves, the way they're made, are completely different. So the executive staircase has a really nice ornate handrail, which is slightly Art Deco, and it has polished concrete steps. Whereas the rear staircase just has your basic run-of-the-mill handrail and just some stairs there, you know.
Well, can you imagine what the toilets are like? Just in case, you think that's bad, like, yeah,
dread to think.
Why not even had one? Right, okay, let's have a look around then, and then we've got a few more things to show you, so let's go.
More of the eyes up there as well, and within through the next room.
It must have been quite damp when you were in here to begin with. Was it pretty?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Okay, so we've now moved into another vault, I suppose, isn't it, Joe? Yeah. So explain to us about this one, because that, I'm assuming, was what we walked past to begin with, wasn't it? A part of the. It's Gotham Alley, isn't it? Was that what it used to be called in Hastings?
It's colloquially known as Gotham Alley. Its official street name is just the alley.
There is no Batman here.
No, there isn't. Unfortunately, no.
A couple of jokers.
Oh, plenty of that. But yeah, you are right. That door does go out onto the alleyway there, as we saw earlier. We're going to replace them with some just fairly nicer doors in this part of the redevelopment. This room used to house the substation, the electrical substation that powered this whole building. And it was a huge great big machine that was long since decommissioned and removed. And these metal features that are on the wall here and just behind you there are what's left. And again, as I've said in other areas, we are keeping these. When this becomes a bar, they will become features of the bar. So hopefully the spirits will be lined on top of that, which is pretty cool. And the cables were huge industrial cables like that, and they were still here. So we've obviously had to remove them. But the trench that they used to go down into and into the rest of the building, we've actually used that to install the drainage. So you can just see a bit of drain pipe there for the next room. where toilets will be. So we've had to install all new drains in this area, obviously. So we've installed the drains there and just backfilled it there like that.
So that obviously, because so in theory we're obviously now in the sort of like the noise. We're now inside of the noisy bit, really, aren't we? So I mean, this is really it. But like you said, so that door would have been. I mean, is that door original or is that, yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? And then you've got the vent slits up there, I'm assuming as well. So
actually, you can see one of the cables there.
oh yeah, look at that. That's got to be copper, isn't it? Because that's definitely got that. You might not be able to see that in the camera, everyone, but trust me, that's definitely that beautiful copper colour.
You've got some of the little cut-offs there as well.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And this one here.
Oh yeah. I've seen plenty of those before, with that winding, that sort of like, isn't that amazing? Right, so just have a look at this door. Electric shock accident once. See, that in itself is interesting to sort of know when that was, you know what I mean? So
yeah, so that's your early 1900s.
yeah. Look at that, I love all that. There's tiny little details that sometimes you just don't necessarily get. But when we're looking back, I tell you what, if we're talking about atmosphere, it's definitely got something on this bit, isn't it?
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, we're going to take a little part of the wall out here, just to link the two vaults together. And that wall there we're going to bring down to about 3/4 high, a quarter high, sorry, or 1/3, just to open it up into the space where the trench was.
Right.
So then this will become like the bar, hopefully have a micro-brewery next door, a few brew kits,
Nice.
toilets, and then the seating area will be throughout the whole of the vaults that we had earlier.
I just think I'm always so amazed at every time, even that I'm so grateful that you guys are just literally doing such an amazing job, not only researching history into it proper, but not only that, but you're caring about it and you're trying to sort of do the best possible thing you can do with it, which I love really, because I think, like I say, it's such a... Hastings has got the typical sort of like caves and everything else, but to sort of really hopefully shine a light on stuff like this is really important. And obviously to have it at this phase, or to even... I mean, I was sort of saying, like, you know, I'm so lucky that I've had this opportunity to document it in this sort of phase, because obviously... How long do you reckon?
So we are doing a phase redevelopment. We're in phase 1 right now. And that's scheduled to finish in May, start of June in 2022.
Wow.
So it's about a year-long phase, and then we go into another phase, which shouldn't take a year really, and then there will be a later phase as well, to just do this bit by bit.
So basically what you're seeing on this camera right now, everybody, is literally going to be the beginning of the end of how it's going to look, if that makes sense. So everything's been stripped out, back to pretty much its original historical format, I suppose, really. So such a good time to come down here, actually, to be fair.
The finished article won't be too different to what you see now,
well,
to be honest. We don't want to change the character of it. The Observer building is not only a big building in the centre of Hastings, but it means so much to the community of Hastings. And we appreciate that, and that's why we wanted to rescue it, and that's why we're maintaining as much of its character and heritage as we possibly can.
Right, let's have a nosy round then, everybody. Come on. Those big old fuses, I'm assuming they would have been in. Okay, so we're now heading into the... Is it the final one? Technically, it's one round there, but this is the dark one.
This is Hastings, so there's always a little bit more. So this one we haven't got lit up at the moment, but we do have one of the bomb-proof doors, the original doors from the 20s, that would have kept people safe during the war as an air raid shelter.
Let's go take a look. Come on in. Okay, Jay, so we're going to talk about the door. the amazing bit of history this is.
Yeah, so this is one of the two bomb-proof or explosion-proof or blast-proof doors, whatever you like to call them. They're extremely heavy. This one will just be staying here as part of the development. We'll just hope that nobody closes it, because it's very tricky to have it open again. I have to kind of put all my body weight into it. But you can see as well, the size of the hinges that are holding this in place. Let's do that. They're quite, I call them the Big Daddy hinges. It's not their technical name.
It's a huge. I mean, I suppose it's very typical for stuff that we've seen, but the fact that it actually still survives it. But this was so when we obviously first entered, this was what Joe was trying to describe as would have been the same door that you would have seen if you'd walked through this as well. So.
That's right. Yeah, this same door in carbon copy was at the entrance to these vaults, and they've done some brick infill to house the door, which we've still got the door somewhere. We've not binned it. Hopefully we'll just relocate the other door somewhere else as part of the heritage of the building as a kind of a showpiece. But we wanted to take the door out of its housing at the entrance so we could take the bricks away to restore the beautiful brick archway as the entrance into these vaults.
Well, let's actually take a look inside then. Come on. Okay, so we've got one torch and it's very dark in here, but you're going to have to take our word for it. If you can see, let's try and turn you around. You're not going to see this as well as it should do, but if I turn that torch off, let's try to do it, that's better. So you've got a rough idea of how big this vault is, and there we go, if I do that with a torch. It's got this incredible, so again, it's just this beautiful art. Should we head down there first and then we'll make our way back and then you can... Again, everybody, it's not going to come out the best on here because I just didn't realise how dark it was. So, there we go. Oh wow, look at that. What is that? Is that one of the...
Yeah, that's one of the original drain pipes.
One of the original drain pipes. Such an unusual thing to see, still.
And the original vents as well.
Yeah, I was going to say. They're beautiful, actually.
Cabling coming through.
Yeah, there is. Look at that.
There's all these various kind of brackets and things just sticking out of the wall.
Wow.
They're just going to stay there.
So we're now standing at the opposite end. So here we go. So Jay, do you want to talk us through what we're going to see? So I'm not going to shine the light on you because otherwise I don't want to blind you. But we just have to take a word for it. These here.
So this vault here, as you can see, there's some steel beams going across. They're all original again. So this would have been a really, really hot space of the building. On the right-hand side, in those alcoves, were lathes where they would melt down the metal used in the printing process. And then to the left was the water baths where they would then cool it off and then remold it into new again to reuse for printing.
It's just this amazing brickwork that still survives, and then when you look closely, you just see these amazing bits of detail that just sometimes just sort of seem to creep up. And you were sort of saying about the tiling as well before we filmed that.
There's some tiles on the floor still, yeah, just there on the left.
We'll have a look when we. Actually, yeah. Should we make our way there? You can guide us through.
So just here.
Oh, look at that!
Floor tiles.
Wow.
Of hexagons and triangles and. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. That's amazing. So why is that on a little bit of a dip then? Can I just ask?
So this is where the water baths were.
Okay.
Other than that,
it's amazing. It's amazing that they go to all that effort just to put tiles just for a water bath.
Yeah.
Just to, and they're like little spiders. It's like, yeah, we'll just put them there. And then these, what you're mentioning. So these are the.
Yeah. So these are where the lathes were. So you would have the metal here melting, and then you would transfer it over into the water bath for cooling, and that's the furnace there.
Yeah, lovely little furnace that. What's that? Is that now? I'm assuming obviously that's blocked now, or is there a still? Does it? Oh no, that's literally. Is it?
So as part of these old buildings.
Is that sandstone as well that I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Behind the back. Wow.
Yeah. Part of these old buildings is if it's not broke, don't fix it. So there are things that even us who are spending a lot of money and a lot of time redeveloping this building, there are things that even we won't find out about.
Amazing.
Because if it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
If we don't know what that reason is, we leave it.
Just so crazy. Really is. And to think, like I said, you know, it's, if we didn't know about this, it would just be the amazing fact that there are the records still surviving to understand what this is so impressive. So these two as well were also
the lathes.
Yeah, lathes as well. Yeah. So yeah, just put it in context for everybody. You've got two lathes on the left and right corresponding, and then you've got the little sort of what were you saying? It would be a furnace or little burner, really. Amazing. I just honestly, you could spend you have, but I mean, you could honestly just look at it and just such a nice. It's so well decorated in its own way, you know what I mean? And it's like
obviously the new steel pipe that you're seeing up there, that's for the new sprinkler system we're installing.
Yeah.
So as you can see, with it being installed there and in between all of these metal joists that are already here, this is going to be how the finished product looks.
Wow.
So it will look just like this. One thing I can show you is the accessible toilet that we've just made.
Of course.
Another part is the coolest accessible toilet you'll
Nice. I look forward to that. Right. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's make our way round then. We're almost at the end, which is kind of sad, but it's kind of cool at the same time. So let's keep going. How many would be interested to know how many people when they walk by will actually look up?
Oh, they all do.
Yeah. Because you won't notice that the little window when you look up, you can just sort of see them, it's on their corner.
This is the part of the building, whenever I bring people around, they kind of go, they look at everything, every single thing.
Okay, so we are now at the final vault now, which is right by the entrance as you would walk in. So again, we'll talk about how that's all going to pan out later on. But this is the darkest one that Joe sanded up. So yeah, we've had a lot of talk changes today. So I apologise if it's not going to come out like really bright. You can understand why it's quite nice. And again, the sound in the background, I like it. So if you can hear us, great. Right, so we go in, Joe. Yeah. Wow, look at this. Okay, Jay, so let's talk about it. The first thing I just want to sort of point out before we start, the first thing, and Jay was actually really kind to point out, sandstone again, just reminding you of where you are, really more importantly. And it's just this beautiful, I mean, it is this Hastings sandstone, isn't it, like you were sort of saying?
Yeah.
So lovely.
This is a complete mixture of the brick lines, the sandstone, a bit more brick for stability in places, and a bit of concrete, and this is a whole mix match here. We don't actually have much on what this space was used for.
Is this the last one you're going to be doing or renovating or whatever you want to?
This will become part of the kind of event or bar space.
Yeah.
With the other stuff as well. It doesn't go through to the S vault.
We're going to have
that little void there. You feel free to poke your head in if you dare.
Yeah, let's do it. Come. Because look at these pipes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're mean.
Yeah, they are. And you can see the depth of the concrete that's been cut through there.
And then what's that? Do you know? That's interesting, isn't it?
Don't actually know.
Isn't that beautiful?
You've got a bit of sandstone, a bit of steel.
You do, yeah.
And a bit of brickwork. It's
Yeah,
like
because that really is. So again, it's got this. Again, it's this beautiful vaulted sort of shaped dome structure. It's just, but like I said, this one's just got that more exposed element of the sandstone in it, hasn't it?
That's
so
right, yeah.
amazing. Right, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look. Love a good void. Oh wow! And then there's another one inside. Can I go in?
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Oh wow, yeah, look, because I didn't even see that pipe. That pipe, everybody, right there. Thank God for these hard hats. Look at this. And then, oh wow. God, it's got that very distinct sort of rusty smell, that damp moisture sort of smell. There's Jay, but you can see. Oh, look at that. Yeah, this one's got a lot to do, hasn't it? Got a long way to go on this one. Oh. Right. Whew. Okay, so what are you thinking about the plans for this one then at the moment? Do you know?
So this will probably either become like the back end of just them spaces the other side of this wall.
Yep.
Maybe for storage if they're businesses or what have you. Or it could be some more kind of seating area. We could maybe block off the door to the observer building and open up the door to the alley and have it that way.
Right.
The plans are a little bit in flux, you might say, in this space at the moment.
Because it's quite. Is it pretty much parallel to the one that we just were in beforehand? Sorry.
Yeah,
pretty much in length, I'd say. Yeah. So obviously it's difficult because this one does bend round. Well, the one before bent round, didn't it? So.
Yeah, that's right.
But so you were saying about, because you noticed this, so did you sandblast all these bricks as well in here?
These ones have been quickly done as well.
You can see, because they just look beautifully clean. They've got a pale sort of colour to them as well, haven't they? I love that. How long did you say, I don't know if it was on the camera, we mentioned how long did the guys spend down here sandblasting?
Yeah, so this was during the very first lockdown. It was the only thing we could do. We had one man down here for 3 months.
3 months?
3 months, sandblasting away. And then towards the start of this year, 2021, so you know about the sandblasting process.
Yeah.
The moisture, because this isn't your normal cement, this is your lime and mortar mix. The water started drying out behind it and started coming through these lines in the mortar as salt.
Really?
So like in the vaults that we were in earlier, it looked like kind of like a snow or some sort of mould.
Wow, okay.
Actually, it was just a salt.
Is that because of the age as well? I mean, obviously, because it's just obviously the composition. I mean, we were sort of saying, I mean, some areas look really well done, and then others sort of look a bit
Bit ropey.
You know.
There's probably been some patch repair over the years. I mean, before we bought the building in 2019, this building was derelict for all intents and purposes for 35 years. In that time, it's had 13 owners before us, and all of those owners, apart from one, made money without doing anything to the building.
Wow.
So that is another kind of part of history that we are changing right now, bringing this into use.
Let's head just down to the opposite end if we can, whilst we're here. I'm amazed at that, what you just said about that, how all those owners just managed to sort of just do nothing. I mean, it's, you know.
Again, down here you can see all the pick marks of where these caves were dug out.
Amazing.
They're not like the big heavy machines we'd use these days.
No, well, this is it, isn't it? You can, again, because it's that thing, isn't it? We always have to keep reminding ourselves that actually, you know, that probably back then, well, we know really, don't we? That it was just so much more. It's just hard to imagine when you're here, because I think sometimes you put a modern perspective on it, and
that's right.
You think, oh right, and especially when we're in here now, you sort of take for granted because the amount of construction is going on. But
yeah,
amazing, right? Okay everybody, so we've ended our journey for today in this amazing bit of historical Hastings really, and Jay was saying absolutely right, which is, it's kind of weird because we're at Claremont and obviously the old town is behind us, so we're not actually in the old part of Hastings. Well, for most people would recognise it, we're actually towards the St Leonard's side really, which is sort of the more hipper
yeah
place.
We're in between the kind of town centre, your high street, and your up and coming St Leonard's hip and trendy area. But yeah, this is a historical space called the America Ground. We're actually stood in the Trinity Triangle. So there's a lot more history to be found in this area as well.
Before we do anything, I'm just going to quickly show you my bit of history. I'm just going to quickly drag you around here. Behind us there's some steps which are called brassy steps. And I did a photo shoot there because we used to gig a lot in Hastings, as some of you may or may not know. And actually one of my photo shoots was on that very steps, and I wish I couldn't find it because we did an interview for a band. But anyway, sorry, back to the point. So it's nice to sort of have a bit of own personal history. I know, right? So Jay, just talk to us about the project, and yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Okay, so what we do is we're a social enterprise property developer. We're a non-profit. Our company's called White Rock Neighbourhood Ventures, named after this area. And we rescue derelict buildings and we renovate them. We bring them back into use for the community. So we provide residential spaces and commercial spaces with capped rents for the local people. And when the buildings are then paying for themselves, we transfer the ownership to Heart of Hastings Community Land Trust, which means that these buildings cannot be resold, and that protects these buildings and these spaces for the people of Hastings in perpetuity. So this is just another one of the buildings that we're doing in this area that we're calling the Hastings Commons.
Which is so refreshing, as we were sort of mentioning, as we were sort of like walking through the fact of it's nice that you can encompass conservation, preservation, heritage all in one, which is really the dream for really what I try and do with this channel, but more importantly to see people who've got such a passion for it. I mean, Jay has been the most amazing like tour guide you could want, really, in his passion for his love history. And we also had we won't say what our previous job was, but we actually had a commonality with our previous job that we could rant for ages about. You'd have to know what we did before, because it's one of these things that only people worked in that environment can relate to. But it was a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Jay. It's honestly been a massive pleasure.
Thank you for coming down.
Oh, thank you so much. And hopefully this can provide a really good bit of documentation for the town of Hastings, but not only that, just to prove that history and heritage and everything else can collide in such an amazing place. And you never know, in a couple of years' time, all of this will be completely different, and for the better, hopefully, as well. So that's the most important thing.
We hope so.
Thank you so much, Jay. And in more words of Phoenix history, because history matters, it really does, doesn't it? I'll see you all very soon. Take care and look after yourselves, everybody. See you later. Thank you, Jay. Take care, man. Bye. Bow.